Welcome back, future teachers. So far, we've talked about how to plan a great lesson, how to teach it effectively, and how to build a safe classroom environment. But now, we are going to talk about everything else you do. We are looking at Domain 4 of the T-TESS evaluation system, professional practices and responsibilities. This domain is all about who you are as a professional outside of your classroom hours. It measures how you grow, how you interact with your colleagues, and how you impact your school community. As a new teacher, it can feel like your whole world is just your classroom. But today, we are going to talk about how to move from just surviving those first years to actually having a positive influence on your entire campus. To understand why this matters, let's look at how your daily work ripples outward. Great teaching doesn't just stay inside the four walls of your classroom. It creates a ripple effect. It starts with continuous improvement. When you reflect on your teaching and try to get better, maybe by reading an article or asking a mentor for advice, your instruction naturally improves. That leads to a collaborative culture. When you share what you've learned with the teacher next door, the whole team gets stronger. And ultimately, that student impact ripples out. Your professional growth inevitably leads to increased student success and well-being across the entire campus, not just for the kids on your roster. Because so much of this happens outside of instructional time, we have to look at how appraisers evaluate this unseen work. Think of teaching like an iceberg. Domains 1, 2, and 3, your planning, instruction, and classroom environment, are the tip of the iceberg. They are visible when an appraiser walks into your room. But Domain 4 is the massive part of the iceberg hiding underwater. It represents all the vital, foundational work you do before the bell rings and long after the students leave. It includes your ethics, how you collaborate, how you communicate with parents, and how you reflect on your own practice. Because an appraiser can't always see this during a 45-minute observation, Domain 4 is evaluated differently. It is based heavily on the conversations you have with your appraiser and the evidence you provide throughout the year. So how do we measure the depth of that underwater work? Let's revisit the structure of the T-TESS rubric. Just like the other domains, Domain 4 operates on a right-to-left continuum. And just like before, proficient, right there in the middle, is our target. It represents rock-solid professional teaching. But the way you move to the left, into accomplished and distinguished, is unique in Domain 4. You don't get there just by working longer hours. The shift requires moving your focus from just your individual practice to having a campus-wide influence. To see exactly what that looks like, let's look at the specific continuum of influence that appraisers use. This is the professional influence continuum. It shows how your impact should grow over your career. When you start out, your focus might just be on compliance, fulfilling the basic requirements like showing up on time and following the rules. As you get more comfortable, you move into reflection, where you are actively assessing your own teaching. Then comes growth, our proficient target. This is when you are consistently taking what you learn and applying it to your classroom. To hit accomplished, you must show leadership by actively contributing to your colleagues. And the ultimate goal, distinguished, is pure influence, where your actions are systemically impacting the broader school community. Let's break down the 4 dimensions of Domain 4 to see how this continuum applies, starting with your professional demeanor. Dimension 4.1 is professional demeanor and ethics. This is your foundation. At the proficient level, you are doing everything a professional should, maintaining reliable attendance, following all campus policies, strictly adhering to the code of ethics, and focusing on doing the right thing in your own classroom. To make the distinguished leap, you go from following the rules to modeling them for others. You serve as a recognized model of professionalism on your campus. You might actively mentor a brand new teacher or proactively advocate for the well-being of a student who isn't even in your class. You become a moral compass for the school. Being a professional also means knowing where you need to improve, which leads us to goal setting. Dimension 4.2 is goal setting. Under T-TESS, you will set professional goals at the beginning of every year. A proficient teacher sets clear, short, and long-term goals that are based on an honest self-assessment of their skills. They meet all the expectations for the goal-setting process and check their progress regularly. The distinguished leap requires deep reflection and openness. Not only do you continuously adjust your goals based on hard student data and feedback from your peers, but you openly share your reflections with your colleagues. You aren't afraid to say, "Hey, my goal was to improve my group work, and here is where I struggled today." That vulnerability drives mutual growth. And how do you achieve those goals? Through professional development, which is our next dimension. Dimension 4.3 is professional development. At the proficient level, you aren't just sitting in the back of mandatory training sessions. You are actively seeking out learning opportunities on your own. And most importantly, you successfully apply those new strategies in your own classroom to help your students. To be distinguished, you shift from being a consumer of learning to a creator of learning. You move from a passive attendee to an active facilitator. You might lead a professional learning session for your department or initiate a book study with your grade level team. You are focused on building capacity in your peers. Sharing that knowledge with your peers naturally leads you to become more involved in the school community. Dimension 4.4 measures your school community involvement. A proficient teacher is a team player. You actively participate in your team meetings, often called PLCs or professional learning communities. You attend school events, and you support the initiatives your principal puts in place. But a distinguished teacher drives the community forward. Instead of just participating, you initiate solutions to campus-wide challenges. You actively foster a culture where the whole team believes they can make a difference, what we call collective efficacy. You take on leadership roles that unite the community. And whether you are leading a team or just reaching out to a parent, communication is key. The final dimension is 4.5, professional communication. Your proficient baseline here is strong. You are consistently informative and responsive. You communicate clearly with families regarding both academics and behavior, and you maintain positive, professional relationships with your colleagues. The distinguished leap asks, are your communications transactional or transformational? A distinguished teacher builds deeply meaningful two-way partnerships with families that actually yield verifiable student success. Furthermore, you might create a communication framework, like an awesome weekly newsletter format, that other teachers on your campus adopt for themselves. Since appraisers can't be everywhere at once, how do they gather the evidence to grade you on all of this? Remember that iceberg? Domain 4 is evaluated comprehensively. Your appraiser will look at an entire evidence ecosystem. They look at conferences and conversations, the formal meetings you have, but also the informal chats in the hallway about your teaching. They look at artifacts, your goal-setting documents, the certificates from training you attended, or your lesson plan reflections. They look at your digital trails. Are you proactively emailing parents? Do you share digital resources with your team? And they look at peer collaboration, the minutes from your team meetings or records showing you are mentoring a peer. Seeing that list might make you feel like you need an administrative title to get a high score, but that leads us to a crucial point. I want to be very clear. Leadership in Domain 4 does not require an administrative title like department head or team lead. It simply requires a willingness to open your classroom door and share your expertise. Look at this graphic. As a new teacher, you will live on the right side, my classroom. Your focus is on your personal practice and your individual students. That is proficient, and that is great. But when you are ready to reach for accomplished and distinguished, you have to cross over to our campus. The catalyst for that leap is sharing, mentoring, and building capacity in others. This idea of leadership without a title is important because there are a few myths about Domain 4 we need to bust. Let's clear up some common misconceptions about how you are graded in this domain. Myth: I need a formal title to be a leader. Reality: influence happens daily in team meetings, informal mentoring, and simply sharing resources with a struggling colleague. Myth: signing up for 10 different committees automatically equals a higher score. Reality: The depth of your impact matters far more than a long list of sign-in sheets. It's about what you actually do on those committees. Myth: professional development just means logging the required hours. Reality: true PD is measured by how effectively you apply that learning in your classroom and share it with your team. As we close out our discussion today, I want to leave you with some reflection questions to carry with you. You aren't in your own classrooms quite yet, but growth begins with honest self-evaluation. Keep these questions in your mind as you start your student teaching or your first year. Strength: which Domain IV dimension feels like it will be my greatest strength right out of the gate? Growth: where can I stretch myself professionally this year? Culture: how do my daily actions contribute to the overall vibe of our campus culture? Influence: who am I mentoring or positively influencing right now, even in small ways? Your answers to these questions will guide your career, because professional growth is not a destination. Professional growth is a continuous journey. Remember, proficient is consistent, rock-solid practice that ensures your students succeed. As you gain experience, you will naturally move toward accomplished, actively contributing to the growth of your colleagues. And eventually, you will reach distinguished, wielding a positive influence that shapes the entire school community. Your unseen work, the part of the iceberg underwater, is what truly shapes the future of your campus. Thank you for your time today, and best of luck on your journey into the teaching profession.